Okay, I am back, and I'm going to go into my Synty ARPG kit. For those of you who are rejoining from the previous stream, like I said earlier, I like to break these up into things that are not so disjointed. So I kind of hate, having a live stream where the last several minutes of it's me sitting there going, "Oh, I don't know how this works." So I'm trying to keep these a little bit more concise and to the point. And this one's going to be for our Synty Polygon ARPG kit. So if you join in here, feel free to say hi. We're not going to do too much to this one, but I basically was on the other night with doing a lot of work here, and one of our watchers, Felix, jumped on, and we were talking a little bit about the Synty Polygon assets and the action role-playing game kit, ARPG. And this was a project I had done quite some time ago when I first started getting into the Synty asset packs and trying to figure out how some of this stuff works with Unreal Engine. And I want to make a mention real quick to a YouTuber. Let me go in here and see if I can find this YouTuber. His name is Beefalo Bart. And I've watched quite a few of his tutorials. And as a matter of fact, if you just look there, Beefalo Bart had a series in here he was working on, and he did something with ARPG. I just saw it on his home. Or maybe back a little further. But anyway, where is it at? Beefalo Bart. Back one more. There you go. So Beefalo Bart did a series on this also, and Action RPG to Synty Studios. Now you can see he did his on February the 3rd of 2020, and this one here of mine, I did this one. I didn't live stream this, but it was just something I was working on in the background. If you go to Show and Explorer, and you go up here. Well, I just updated that today or 2 days ago. But if you look at the actual files underneath here, looks like I changed them today. But I was going to say I actually did these quite a while ago before his. It doesn't look that way, though, does it? But that is true. I did these back around like August, maybe July or August or September of last year. I had played with all these. You can see I updated them just recently while I was going through trying to clean all my stuff up. But the point of that is two things. Number one, I didn't steal the idea from him. He didn't steal the idea from me. He never saw my live stream. I happened to catch his live stream where he was doing this later on, and I mentioned that I had worked on a similar project. Obviously, you're going to run across each other's ideas quite a bit in this game. But I watch a lot of Beefalo Bart stuff because he is constantly pushing the boundaries of figuring out how to make these things work as well. And you can learn a lot of stuff from watching this guy. So if you get a chance, you should subscribe to his channel, Beefalo Bart. He's actually clocking right along up there in the subscriber count, so he's doing a good job. And oh, here, actually, you can see a month ago I said that I ended up doing the same thing a while back. But he's a real nice guy, and his tutorials are full of good information. So check him out. And this is not a duplicate of his effort. You might find a lot more stuff in his because he spent more time with it than I did with mine. I was just going to show this to Felix. I think Felix is back on. Felix, are you there? Is that you? I don't want to move too far forward without you because I know you can't see it. I guess not. But what I had done with this, for those of you who are watching, if you go to the Unreal Engine store, I'm just going to go to that now, unrealengine.com, and you go into, actually not, you could go into the marketplace and get this. I think it's still in there. Action, or it might just be under ARPG. No. Action RPG, maybe. There you go. So, Action RPG, if you search for the things that are listed by Epic Games, Action RPG, I've got quite a few things. Action RPG is in there. You can get this for free from Epic Games. Highly recommend checking it out. It's got a pretty cool video game already built in there for you. And there are a couple of streams on YouTube surrounding this package and how it works. There's probably about 3 or 4 of them that are pretty decent. So it's a good way to get started, and the documentation's ever evolving, I should say. But maybe you'll learn some things from that. But one of the things that I thought would be cool was to take this game interface, this overlay, and expand these dungeons out and kind of replace this with a Polygon Synty asset pack. And that's kind of what this was all about. So I was going to show this to Felix because we were talking about this the other night. I think both of us are Synty fans. But here's the actual first map that comes into the game. And you can see it's not a very big play area. But the way that this thing's set up is you actually have waves that you go through. And at the end of each wave, you have like 5 waves total. If you beat all 5 waves, it's just the end of the game. And you have to kill characters to get souls, and souls can be used to buy weapons and items and points and stuff. And you'll see here, when I hit the play button, what I'd actually done with this is I went through and I took my Synty character and I converted my Synty character. So this one's a skeleton. I converted him over to be able to use the weapons and items from this game. Actually, let me turn my volume down a little bit on there. I don't think that'll affect anything on your end. Maybe it will. I don't know. I don't think it affects your volume, but I don't know how hard it is to hear over top of that. But anyway, this I never fixed the intro, but I basically converted a Synty character to be able to use the weapons and items in the game. And then, of course, the next logical step in here was to actually go into the Polygon dungeons. And in that map, under the demonstration map, let's load that up. Alright, so in here, I did the same thing. I added in spawn points and start points. And of course, same deal, you got the character in there. So if you go hit play, there's your skeleton. And you're going to have your enemy characters come in here and somebody to battle against. So you can see where, if I were to swap out these enemies, you could probably set this up so that at the end of your wave, like you clear a zone out like this and it would unlock the next gate. You could travel through here and beat all these different characters and stuff. This one, I'm going to eventually die because I don't have enough health points. And there you go. Psh, done. But these Synty Polygon assets look beautiful. So inside of this kingdom, or this castle, for example, this old ruined castle, you come down in here, there's like a little dungeon path. You can see I changed the fire out to Polygon fire on a couple of these. Low poly fire. But if you come down through here, there's like all kinds of assets and just a beautiful map. A lot of cool stuff going on in these Synty asset packs. But this could also be the foundation of a hack and slash RPG style game. A lot of different stuff to play with in here. Let's do like a quick run through. This is up the steps. There's more. I think there's a tunnel here that comes out the other end. A room with some runes in it. You can imagine writing a pretty cool game around just the ideas that they give you in their generic asset packs. These guys really put a lot of good work into the stuff that they do. This is one of the things I was saying the other night when you're doing video game creation. Yeah, you can come up with the greatest idea in the world for a game, but the brick wall you're typically going to hit is where do I get artwork? You know, artwork's pretty expensive, and you have to pay for being able to use all the different assets and everything. You have the royalties to, or the royalty-free licensing, or the ability to use them in your gameplay. So, hey, what's happening, Felix? I was just, I don't know if you can scroll back, but I'll just show you. Ugh, this is, I was showing everybody the, I'd actually taken a Synty character. Here's my Synty knight, skeleton knight or whatever. And I had converted him over to be able to use the weapons and everything that are in this game. Just switched him up to a better weapon here. So, I was saying right out of the box, you know, with the action role-playing kit and the Synty Polygon assets, you could really make something pretty playable pretty fast. You could have a game like this where you go through and beat all the waves and then go through to the, you know, each time you clear an area or something would open up a gate, or maybe they'd drop a key or something like that, you know. It'd be pretty easy to do, I'm sure. But it could also be the foundation for the next Legend of Zelda, you know. No, and the thing I'm trying to remember is how I did this, because this was a long time ago. As I mentioned in my stream when I first started, there's a guy by the name of Beefalo Bart who does a lot of live streams. You may have run across him before, but on what am I doing here? YouTube. Come on. My computer's running a little slow now. So if you look up Beefalo Bart, he had a thing in here where he had done a action RPG, Cine Studios merge, kind of like I did. I did mine way before he did his, but I was saying he didn't steal his from me and I didn't steal mine from him. And, you know, it's common that you're going to run across each other's ideas or whatever. But this guy, Beefalo Bart, when I first started getting into Unreal Engine, he just happened to be one of the only people that was out there that was really pushing the Synthi asset packs. And it's because of him that I even stumbled on him in the first place. So you might want to subscribe to him and check him out. He does a lot of fun stuff, and you don't really know exactly what you're going to be dealing with when you're watching his streams, because he'll go through a lot of stuff in a short period of time. But you know, if there's something in there that you can learn any little thing just watching somebody play with this, sometimes, you know, it works out pretty good. But this the foundation for this is that action RPG kit, like we talked about the other night. You can get from the Unreal Engine store. It's an Epic Games release, and that is the action RPG kit with the character converted over to a Synthi asset character, and then played in the Synthi Polygon dungeon area. And I just basically, you know, you take these NPC spawn boxes and move them over, and you can change some of the game mechanics of this pretty easily, I'm sure. Oh, excuse me. Which I may do in a future thing. Really want to work on that platformer game, get that couple of stuff nailed down before I get into too much other stuff with this. But I was saying the other night, my Synthi Polygon asset packs will be heavily used in the platformer game. But at least with the platformer game, I feel like that's got a chance at, because it's already so well done with what MSOD has done, I can just take my artwork stuff that I got from Synthi and bring that into the mix and create some additional levels and work with what's going on there to build, you know, a little bit more of an environment. And I could probably get something done pretty quick with that, as opposed to something like this where your head starts thinking about, you know, an action role-playing game and leveling up and, you know, spell casting and sword fighting and, you know, point systems and all kinds of stuff that go into making a fun, you know, action adventure RPG type deal. This could take you know, a year, year and a half, 2 years to really even get close to having something that somebody would want to play. Whereas a platformer game, I could, you know, once I get that couple of little things figured out, I might be able to knock that out in, you know, half a year. Um, so that's what I want to do. I'm going to work in that direction. But I wanted to show this to you because, excuse me, because the other night we had talked about converting over those characters. So in here, let's see, I feel like there is a blueprint for the main character. Yeah, player character. And if you look at the mesh in the viewport here, that's where I converted the skeleton over. And he's using this animation blueprint for the players. And I think because that they all have the same thing, I feel like I can just swap them out. So like there's same pack, different character. Yeah, I have them all set up so that you know they all use the same skeleton. So you can swap these guys out pretty fast and use different characters from that pack just by switching them in here under the viewport mesh because they're all using that same deal there, which is handy. Even the rock golem. You know, every one of these guys on that same skeleton. And I don't really see any shoulder squishiness. But now what I did with this guy, how did I remember how I did this. Did it a while ago. Um, but I feel like all I did, if we go to Polygon Dungeon meshes, under characters and animations, I'm pretty sure that this was just a retarget. Because that character is going to have this skeleton, right? And he should just be mapped as humanoid. And everything's set up here. And then under this game, there's a character, and he has his animations. And I think if you look at this, like sword walk forward, sword run forward, if you go back here, see there's my sword walk forward. It looks like I did this twice. So one of these times maybe didn't work. No? I must have shot it twice for some reason. There's fireball. I want to say that I just went into the animation blueprint for Barbarous. Right here, ABP player. And I probably just took that and said duplicate the anim blueprint onto a different skeleton. But that's interesting because that has That's got the right guy on there. I'll have to figure out how I did this exactly and go back through and maybe do a tutorial on retargeting that to a different Synty character inside of this thing, because this was a little crazy. There was a lot of stuff going on here, and the only thing I haven't been able to figure out in this is that if I were to go back to this player character blueprint under the viewport mesh, this might be something if somebody gets a chance to figure this out. I would be happy to have somebody tell me how this works. If you go in here and you get Barbarous, and you put his animation blueprint back on, where's he at? He should have responded to ABP player. I think actually there's two Barbarouses in here. That's the game character Barbarous. Probably can't use him anymore because I probably retargeted his skeleton directly onto the other characters. That's probably why. Let me see. I can tell you. I think I can tell you if I did that. There's all his animations. Yeah, I think that's what I did because I can see these hand R socket and weapon 0. I don't think I would have put those on there back then. I think these actually just came over because I went to the skeleton for the Barbarous character. Wherever that is. Right here. And I probably took his skeleton and said retarget to another skeleton. And I probably picked at that point my Polygon dungeon mesh character. I think that's probably where that all started. And when I did that, then I could take the animation blueprint if it didn't already come over with it. That's probably how that whole thing happened. Maybe try that if you have this or whatever and see if it works for you. And if it doesn't, maybe I'll make a copy of this and see if it goes through again. But that's what I did, I think. So that was the one thing I was working on, was getting the Synty assets to work in here. Now the next thing I want to show you is what we talked about the other night. And under my Northammer Action RPG thing that I was working on, this is the one that I was using Dungeon Architect with. And so this will be a quick free plug for the action, for the Dungeon Architect. Now this is that utility I was telling you was $100 or whatever. And in here I changed the ARPG game to not have the timer on it. So there's nothing that's going to clock down the timer. So I'm just going to get a couple of waves. But this is the way that Action RPG was going to look. Same type of thing, but it's just out in the out in this dungeon here. And okay, the other thing is I shut the trigger off so it doesn't go to a second wave. So kind of what I was thinking is you go through a wave, and then your area is clear, or whatever, and you go find the next item. But I don't like the way that this character moves. It was part of the reason I got tired of playing with this. But I wanted to show you what Dungeon Architect did. So Dungeon Architect, if you go to the marketplace here and look for Dungeon Architect. My goodness. Tired. Can't spell. Still can't spell. Dungeon Architect from Code Respawn. This was $100. But if you go down here into the quick start guide and the user guide, he has a content pack. So if you go to the download section for the content pack and you pull that out, I guess I could do it real quick. I have it already somewhere. Dungeon Architect content pack. Go show it in the folder. And extract it. So inside of here, he had already assembled in this content folder. You have all these different DA folders. And under the DA folders, there's one that's called like, I think it's called Starter Pack maybe. I think that's the basic one. And you have all kinds of different little options in here, but the ones that I did is I pulled in the ones for Infinity Blade Fire, Grass, and Ice. And I also pulled in the one for Soul Forge, which I think is actually called Soul Cave on the marketplace. But these are the free ones that are offered by Unreal Engine. And what this guy has done is he's created these emitters and selectors and all that kind of stuff. If you read how this thing works, he's got, I mean, amazing documentation on this thing. Tons of examples. Everything already kind of set up for a multitude of different setups in here. But what you can basically do, let's say I'll go to Infinity Blade Fire, and you go into the maps, and we'll do it at design time. So we'll open this up, and I just want to show you how powerful this thing is, if you didn't watch my other video. Excuse me, I definitely recommend getting that and downloading all these different packs and everything. Because as I was saying, he's already got that all set up. Alright, so we got a map here that is, it's our fire map. But what I wanted to show you, it's going to be hard to see. Let's do it, let's do this. Sorry, I want you to be able to see this, and it's not going to be easy in there. We'll do it with ice maps. Yeah, it's not easy, but definitely worth the trip. Alright, this is just a generic one here. I didn't have anything that I put into this. Let's see if I can play in here. Alright, so there shouldn't be any, there aren't any characters in here. There we go. Alright, so we can kind of see this, whatever we got here, this dungeon. Nothing really going on in it, but there we go. So what I want to show you is if you take this thing, I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and you see you've got basically three different components in here. Component number one is this outer static mesh, which is called the background cliffs. So there's the emitter for the background cliffs. Then you have the dungeon ground, which is all these little spikes and spires and all that stuff. And then you have this dungeon main. And the beauty of this thing is you can literally take this thing and go down to the details tab. And I'm going to say destroy dungeon. Right? So it's gone. And I'm going to say randomize the seed. And then build a dungeon. And so there's another version of a dungeon. If I didn't like this one, destroy dungeon, randomize the seed, and build me a dungeon. Destroy dungeon, randomize seed, build me a dungeon. Until you find something that you like, or, you know, whatever. If you want to go tweak it, you can. Well, the Synthy packs, yeah, it depends on what what the end game is. So the Synthy packs can be expensive, but you're getting a lot of stuff for what you're paying for, in my opinion. I've spent way more money on other things that didn't look as good as that, you know. Where did I put my start at? So here's my player start. All right, good enough. So, but you can see how just that quick, I mean, bam, we're into a whole different look and feel for another outdoor area. And he even has this thing set up that you can set it to do this on at runtime, which means that you could theoretically randomize dungeons. And then he has another utility. The guy that built Dungeon Architect has another utility that see there. So there's an issue right there. So what you do is you take wherever you find a problem, and I don't know which way I was going here. Where was I running to? Where's my player start? Did I run over here? No. Yeah, right here. All right, so if if you find out like something's in your way, you can literally just go over here and manually tweak a couple of these things out of your way. Save it and play it, and you're good to go. So just that quick, you got yourself a playable area. You go in and make sure you can get through, and then clean it up here and there. But pretty good looking stuff. So I don't know. I think it's worth the money if you want to build a lot of areas pretty quick. I mean, you can't get much faster than what we just did there with grabbing that. Go out to the dungeon main and just hitting that, destroy dungeon, randomize, and build. It's just crazy how fast that thing procedurally and randomly generates all that stuff. And I think he has a thing in there too that tells you how he does it. I mean, a little bit about how he does it. But I think you can even take that. See that dungeon? So if I say edit copy, edit paste here. So now I got another one in there. Right, so I got a dungeon main and a dungeon main too. So I can go in here and say randomize the seed and build that dungeon. Then I can take dungeon main 2, drag it out to where it's got enough room. Yeah, it definitely depends on the type of game you're making. But I'm just saying, if you have any kind of a thing, like even if you wanted to build a city, you could build an entire city with this tool, depending on what the items are that you put inside of here. It has, that all depends on the artwork and everything. So I'm going to build another dungeon off of this one. Oh, I got it. I might have it too low in the ground there. There you go. And so, you know, you could link these areas together and build this massive sprawling complex. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I was saying in here, if you go, when you go to his page on the Unreal Engine store for that Dungeon Architect, if you look at if you go to the trailer for this thing, it's only a couple minutes, but look at your levels here that you're building. So this is a sci-fi type hallway corridor. There's your underground dungeon thing I was talking about with the fire. But it's not really just a dungeon generator. It's more of a, like they're saying here, procedural levels. And I feel like, I don't know if this shows it or not, but somewhere there's a thing where, yeah, even this, like building a shooter game, these are all procedurally generated. Lots of different styles. I thought there was a trailer somewhere that showed where he was doing this with Synty Sci-Fi. Maybe not. Pretty sure I saw it somewhere. Somebody was doing, maybe it wasn't him. Maybe that's why I'm confused. But there was one where he did like an entire sci-fi city. Pretty cool stuff. But I wanted to show you those two because we had talked about them the other night, and I kept trying to get them loaded up, and they kept crashing because I had the wrong versions installed and all that stuff. But I think that pretty much covers it for the night. So I got a chance to go back and play around a little bit more with those other things. I had something in my Synthy retarget thing here. Forget what it was. I deleted a bunch of projects today, and I'll probably regret it later. I'll be thinking to myself, "Oh, wait a minute, I was working on that thing," you know. Oh, this is the one we were just playing with the king. That's what that Synthy retarget was. Couldn't remember what it was called. So yeah, I just pared it down to the couple that we were actually doing something with. But I'm going to go ahead and jump off here. Hopefully somebody found some value in some of the stuff that we went through tonight. Maybe it provokes a couple of ideas. And Felix, have a good night. I will get back on working with this platformer kit, try and figure out what's going on with these assets. And maybe by next time I get on here, I'll have something figured out. We can actually move forward. So stay safe, stay healthy, and I am going to go ahead and sign off of here. I think there's a way to get to that from here. Take care of yourself and have a good night. And I'll catch you on the next one. See ya.